everybody? Welcome to Capital of Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch, and today I'm going to recap this past weekend's UFC 202, and then I'm going to preview this weekend's, tonight's UFC Fight Night, which features Carlos Condit versus Maia in the main event. So, rewinding, make sure you watch Rob's initial reaction to UFC 202. He watched it live and immediately gave his thoughts afterwards. I've had a chance to watch it a few times now, so I'm going to give you the post-fight breakdown on Johnson, Teixeira, and McGregor and Diaz. Starting off with the 13-second blowout of Glover Teixeira. Anthony Johnson came out. He looked like he really respected the power of Glover because he did back up some, and Glover was the one coming forward. They were throwing punches. Glover landed some good shots. He was very sharp in these few seconds that we had of a fight. Johnson was also swinging, and you could tell he was loading up on his shots, and he respected the power of Teixeira. And then once, I believe he landed a left hook right before the ending, Glover Teixeira did. And I think at that point, Anthony Johnson said, forget this, I got to end this. And ended he did. A vicious right uppercut puts Teixeira flat out. Some unnecessary hammer fists, but you can't really stop until the ref comes in. So, unless you're Mark Hunt, because he just walks away because he knows it's over. But what we have now is pretty much the number one contender to light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier's title. Unfortunately, since I've had like a week to mull all of this over, I've also looked at the headlines, and our top UFC brass is talking about having a fight between Johnson and John Jones instead of the rematch between Cormier and Johnson. And I'm not a fan of that. Personally, I love John Jones. I think he's an excellent athlete. But we can't just slide him right back into the title picture, especially after all of the violations that he's had regarding the anti-doping. And that has to be cleared up before anything else happens. And we have no clue when that's going to happen or how it's going to play out. So it would be unfair to Anthony Johnson to do that, to make him wait on John Jones instead of getting another immediate title shot at Daniel Cormier. He's earned it. Now, if the whole Jones thing turns out to not be what we thought it was, I still think he has to wait in line. I do really want to see Jones Cormier too, but he's gonna have to wait until Anthony Johnson handles his business. Let's move on to the main event, where we had Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz at a welterweight fight, even though both guys fight at lower weight classes. We got Conor McGregor, who is the featherweight champ, 145, and Nate Diaz, who is a lightweight. We all know they originally met at 170 because of the Rafael dos Anjos fallout in UFC, I think it was 192 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it was earlier this year. And Nate Diaz stepped in on less than 2 weeks' notice, gets bloodied up, weathers the storm, begins to land some heavy leather on Conor McGregor. McGregor goes for a takedown. We know how that ends. Let's get into the rematch. Honestly, this fight looked a lot like the first fight, except we noticed that Conor McGregor is really trying to measure his activity, as opposed to in the first fight where he just went in there guns blazing trying to blow Diaz out of there. I originally thought that was going to happen because Nate Diaz was not fighting. He was not active at the time. But he proved that being a lifelong martial artist, that kind of stuff doesn't matter. In this one, Conor McGregor did some great things from the outset. One was the leg kick to the lead leg of Diaz, because he does have a more of a boxing stance than what guys use in MMA. So he was able to pepper that leg and bruise it up really badly early on in the fight. He's also deadly accurate with his lead left hand. He threw it early, he threw it often, and he landed just as often. He was able to drop Diaz in the first round. He dropped him twice in the second round. Unfortunately, Diaz was never actually hurt. If you look at his face, you can see that he was still composed. But if you land a shot where you're supposed to land it, people will go down. That's just one of those nature science thingies, laws, however you want to say it. But he was able to land on the point of Diaz's chin. He just did not physically hurt him enough to where he was actually disoriented. He was able to recover quickly. You could actually see that he wanted Conor to follow him to the ground, and McGregor was smart enough not to fall for that. So like I said, in the second round, he drops him twice, but then he starts to fade again. And this was one of the major points that Rob made in his reaction video. He was like, Conor McGregor slowed down, he got really tired, and he did. 170 is not for him. He was only doing it for revenge and pride. So hopefully that is out of his system and he does not fight at that weight ever again, because if he ever takes on any real welterweights, it will be very, very ugly. Back to this fight. He slows down. Diaz begins to come on late in that round, but I still gave the first 2 rounds to Conor McGregor. Third round, all Nate Diaz. Conor McGregor is exhausted. He is physically running away from Nate Diaz. I know a lot of people are saying that he was like creating distance. That what he did was the textbook definition of running. When you turn your back to your opponent, something you're never supposed to do, and literally jog away, that's called running. He was able to do it a few times. Diaz did tag him one time when he did it, but it is what it is. It was an effective strategy. Diaz wasn't able to stop it, but he still took the third round big. It looked like he was going to get that stoppage again. But Conor was very tough. He was also very good on his takedown defense as well. He did not allow Diaz to get any takedowns until the final 10 seconds of the fight. So you have to give him props on that, because he knew, even though he was practicing jiu-jitsu crazy, that you cannot get black belt level experience in just a few months. Nate Diaz has been doing this for a very long time, and there was no way he was going to catch up the skill gap in that small amount of time. So props to him for keeping it off the ground and keeping it standing where he had the best chance. Throughout the fight, McGregor was always first with his punches, which is why I believe the judges favor him. He also landed the more showy punches because he's an explosive fighter. He has that explosive frame, so his punches showed a lot more than when Diaz landed punches. If you are not familiar with that, look at the way when McGregor lands on Diaz, how he actually moves Diaz. His head was snapping back, and you could see the full motion of the punch. Whereas when Diaz is landing, it's not landing as hard, it's not landing as showy, but it's still being effective. So as a judge, you have to really focus to see that that is going on. But I did give Diaz the third round. Conor got a good second win in the fourth round, did enough to win that one. And then I believe I gave Diaz the fifth round because he was really pouring it on, trying to stop McGregor. McGregor really looked like he was just trying to survive. And then he gets the takedown and the ground and pound at the very end of the match. That happens maybe a minute and a half earlier, and he probably secures the win. But it didn't. McGregor takes the decision, a majority decision, And I'm not sure what's going to happen next. He has to defend his featherweight title, or he's going to move up to lightweight. We don't know yet. It's still too fresh. So that's what we're waiting on to find out what happens. I personally don't think he should go back down to 145 because being as big as he is, he already struggled to get down to that weight. And if he once again goes back down there, I don't think he'll be healthy. And Jose Aldo will be able to exact his revenge from the 13-second knockout that he received back in, I believe, December. So that's it for that. Now I'm going to talk about tonight's card, where we have Demian Maia and Carlos Condit in the main event. And a feature attraction is Anthony Pettis dropping down to featherweight for the first time against Charles Oliveira. Now, I saw some pictures of Anthony Pettis earlier this week, and he looked awful. I mean, he was completely gaunt. He looked dry. It looked like the weight cut was immensely hard on him. And I'm hoping that he does not damage himself because of that. Honestly, I'm not expecting him to look too good tonight. I think Oliveira is going to take him based on how hard it was for him to make that weight. And it's probably going to be ugly. And that sucks because I am a fan of Pettis, but I think it's going to be ugly. Main event. Demian Maia, one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the sport, versus Carlos Condit, who is a very, very all-around fighter, but his strengths are in his stand-up. He has excellent striking. It's creative. It's accurate. It's hard. It's strong. And that's where he's going to need to keep this fight. He does have ground skills, but they're not on the level of Demian Maia. So it would be best for him. It would behoove him to keep this fight standing at all times. And don't test Maia's gangster. Don't do it. I believe he can win he'll make it look easy if he can keep this fight standing, but it won't be easy because that threat of going to the ground is always there, and he's going to have to be cognizant of that throughout the entire fight. If he can do that, I believe he'll take a decision, a pretty wide one. Like I said, it won't be easy, but he might make it look that way if he can stick to that game plan. I'm excited to see if he can or not, because Demian Maia is very exciting to watch on the ground, because if he can't submit you, he'll just beat you up and put you in a various amount of submission attempts, and that makes it still exciting. So he's going to have to try to get Condit on the ground, close the distance, use his striking to get Condit to raise his guard or feint just enough so he can get the takedown, and then he's in his world. He can also utilize lots of leg kicks to take the wheels away from Condit. He is a few fights removed from a very bad knee injury. He should take advantage of that. This is a sport. You take advantage of other people's weaknesses. That's what he has to do. So I am taking Condit by decision. I think he'll be able to keep Maia from taking him to the ground and be able to use his striking to pile up enough points and maybe even hurt him once or twice in order to secure a well-fought decision. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share it. Make sure you subscribe. If you have anything you want to add, throw it down in the comment section below. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. The links are below. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and gone. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.